day, Christoph. I started liquidation process today. Before the call, I was with my lawyer.
Hyde, let's talk about business reality
Oh,
in
yes.
Germany.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Where do I begin with this one?
Yeah.
It comes from deeply rooted matter of control.
What do you advise young people today that you see?
Who are will be coming.
I see no way out if we don't change the system.
But I had to push far more than most people would.
So
There is no future here. If you look at 10 years from now, the way it's heading, I don't have children, you have children. I would not want to have children in this country. I would not want them to grow up here.
Hi everyone, I'm really glad you're here. I'm starting this long form podcast here now on my channel and I'm excited to host it. I have a super interesting special guest here, a CEO from New Zealand who built his own company in Germany and who is planning on leaving again. It's an honest, in-depth conversation with a lot of different perspectives, angles covered. If you want to support this channel in a free and simple way, subscribing really helps. I'm trying to read all the comments. Let me know what you think about this format so we can keep the interesting guests and format quality going. Thanks for being here. You really make a difference. You give me a voice. You make all of this possible. Hyde, you are originally from New Zealand. You moved to Germany before COVID. You built a company here, insured workplaces, you integrated yourself, you paid taxes, hired people, just built a future for yourself, but you are planning on leaving again. If someone outside Europe asks you today, is Germany still a good place to build a future? What would your honest answer be without diplomacy, straight from your heart?
Now, being straightforward, I would say, first of all, thanks for having me. Wanting to have my opinion there. I appreciate it. I don't want to give a concrete yes or no answer. It depends on the situation. For somebody like myself, who's an entrepreneur, who owns multiple businesses and such things, and for my own standards, it'll not be a place to be in the future or even currently. However, depending on your background, perhaps you are from downtrodden background, maybe it really depends. Perhaps maybe if you're coming from, let's say, a war-torn country or a continent that's maybe a third world continent, then yes, Germany is a wonderful option. It already gives you better than what you have. However, for me, as somebody from down under, I'm used to better. I would not be staying here. No.
Yeah. That's exactly why I want to have this conversation with you, and we are having it. We will discuss and talk about a lot of topics in different details, different perspectives, angles. Welcome everyone. My name is Christoph Lieder. Welcome to Macro Markets. On this channel, we don't only talk about politics and charts. We talk also about people and how actually the system under the hook lives and breathes and works. Hyde is a CEO and entrepreneur who built a life for himself here in Germany, Hyde Motorworks, and whose experience overlaps with mine in uncomfortable but important ways here in Germany. This is not rant, this is not clickbait, this is reality check we want to get into. Welcome, Hyde, to my show. This is my first podcast. Anything else you would add from your side on that?
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me. I saw some of your videos actually on YouTube. They were recommended to me. The algorithm works in funny ways, and I found your video about leaving Germany quite interesting. It's a topic that comes across everyday discussions among friends and what you have, and a lot of people do discuss it, the state of Germany. And I found your video rather provocative and thoughtful. As the Germans like to call it, tacheles, facts. And no bashing, it's just putting down the facts. And I figured, wonderful job.
I think nowadays it's important to have these honest, direct talks, even if they are uncomfortable. And that's what we are going to do. We are going to get into a lot of gritty details. So let's start. When you moved to Germany in 2019, just right before COVID, what did you expect? And what did you expect? And what surprised you in terms of reality? What you encountered afterwards? How was your view?
Well, that's a rather broad question. So, first time I was in Germany was in 2018, actually.
Okay.
There was a presentation with I believe, the Groningen University and such. There were three companies involved. One was from Netherlands. They build kit cars, the big sevens. And the gentleman had bought the company from UK, shifted to Netherlands, and they were working on the hydrogen fuel cell, to make it more of a green car and such things. It was a $5 million project. We had a little stake in there because we had superchargers at that time. My company was, of course, much smaller, and I came around end of the year, and then I figured I'll also check out Germany because I was also looking at expanding my operations, moving to Europe, because the image you get of Europe, be it Hollywood, and we all know how that goes.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I stayed about 6 weeks in Germany, made very good friends. I already had German friends, of course, back in New Zealand. So, and one thing to the other, I figured, all right. The other option was Bavaria, Sweden, but I had picked here, a little bit less dark.
How was
And
the transition for you in the beginning?
uh, I hate to say culture shock. However, I will have to say that. A little bit of a culture shock that only uh, I learned more and more, and it didn't really live up to how it presented itself. The
Yeah.
advertisement was not the product. Over the years, I understood how society is, how the governance works here, and things that are lacking. For me, it was a step back, perhaps a couple of decades,
Okay.
technologically speaking, socially, how things are set up. Um,
So
yeah,
was quite fast for you to realize then it looks very different than it actually feels and how you encounter it in the real world and afterwards, right?
yes, yes, that's correct. That is correct. And I always had a very positive impression of German people. Being in New Zealand, we get a lot of German people. They usually come across as very educated people, thoughtful, and clean. And it was, of course, my immature younger mind thinking that the boy who stays in the village versus the boy who leaves the village,
Yeah.
the son of the Mesger, he either stays there or he leaves. The person who leaves gets a broadened perspective, horizon of the world. So obviously, those who travel will be a bit more open-minded, more knowledgeable about different aspects of life and culture and such matters, than those who never went outside their comfort zone.
Yeah. Do you
So
think
that's
that
something I did realize.
that Germans themselves see that difference also, or has it become normalized in a way that the fame on the outside is the same as living and facing reality?
There is a glass ceiling per se, glass ceiling, and this applies for a lot of ethnic Germans as well as non-Germans. It's not really racially dependent. You could be white, brown, black, green, purple, yellow,
Yeah.
whatever. It doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. There is there is this matter in society, and it comes from the governance. People, I would say, are aware, well aware, over the last half a decade or longer. I've seen things go not really in a improving direction. The mindset of the population is usually they will say, "Oh, that's Deutschland. Welcome to Germany,"
Yeah. Yeah. I
and
agree.
that's
Agree.
just
Is
that's a way of coping. That's a way of coping. Now, the German mentality is this is what we have. This is how it is. Can't really do much. You have the older mentality. Some may be a bit too kept behind. Let's say if you go around the Benelux countries or if you go to Scandinavia and surrounding countries, there is, of course, that stigma from the World War. There is something I would like to call it guilt pride,
yeah. I
being
agree.
just keeping our language and all such. We're not going to speak the international language, all those. There is some arrogance, but in general, the average German person is just a human being like you and me.
Yeah.
He's trying to make by with a governance that's not really serving him anymore. Some
Yeah.
of them still buy the propaganda from the 70s that, hey, Germany from the 70s. And that still is the reputation we have around the world of Germany. However, when you live inside Germany, it's a
It's,
whole different
it's
beast.
yeah. I agree. For me, it hurts seeing that, let's say, entrepreneurs, builders, creators, people who thrive and want to produce things and have motivation, like yourself, you're in the 30s, that you're planning on leaving, that you don't see
I
any
am.
perspective anymore. What from
There
your...
is really no future here for a person like myself.
Yeah,
This I can go on record saying. And you noticed last year, I believe 70% of the companies had already started moving out of Germany. And we're not, of course, talking about big companies. The economy is always made by, you have medium-sized companies, not the multinational billion-dollar companies. You have those in the hundreds of thousands and the millions. Those are the ones, or even smaller companies. During COVID, let's say a lot of people just went bankrupt. A lot of people just shut down. The restaurants were hurt the most. It does affect the everyday person running, if they're trying to run similar to, let's say, in the UK. You'll be punished for running a business. You have so much paperwork that you'll not have any time to run your business. I'm lucky enough to have people handle some things for me, having a lawyer and all such things. However, for a person like me, there's 50 others who can't.
yeah,
People who
yeah,
bring in money into the country, people who pay
yeah.
taxes.
Quick note before we continue. If you're watching this and you are not subscribed yet, most people aren't, consider subscribing now to Macro and Markets. This channel is about understanding how the economic system really works beyond headlines. Get on this train. What do you think? How would the system need to be redesigned, or what would be the incentives that people actually, instead of leaving, are coming back to Germany, that they thrive and want to come to Germany in a good way of creating building?
We need to have the mentality that the German people perhaps had. Now is before my day. A lot of my friends are in their 50s and 60s, what you have. So I mingle more with the older German crowd than a lot of newer ones. Of course, I have friends in their 20s and such things as well. Now, the mentality shifts in between would be how to change it. Now, industrialization. Germany is a mercantilist economy. We are an export economy. 70% of the products we build are exported. And there's nothing really wrong with being a mercantilist economy. Basically, your merchants, for that, you need industry.
Yeah.
For industry, of course, you'll need, the German principle has been for a long time, cheap energy and all such. We can get into those details. However, to improve the matter right now, I don't see improvement coming, even if you start it today, in the next 15 years, optimistically.
Yeah,
What improvements will need to be done? Digitalization, most digitalization. You hire less people, like let's say in Corona times. You know, they sent the details by fax. And administration still use fax. All the details of patients and such things, they were sent by fax and entered into the system manually by individuals. This could be avoided. Digitalization, number one, making it easier to bring in investors, making it easier for people to go around about doing things. People who are actually contributors to the economy, people who actually bring in money, not making their life harder and difficult.
Yeah, I agree.
The lingual barrier, that's another matter. You as a German may feel offended by it or maybe not. In the end, it's not my doing, it's just the world. English is the Hauptsprache. That's the international language. You want to speak with some Chinese fella, you want to speak with some fella from down under, you want to speak with some guy from Mexico, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I
you
agree.
can rely on that fallback language. There's no reason to hate a language. A language is just a language. It's a mode of communication.
Yeah.
Our education system needs to be really overhauled and improved. That's another matter. And the overall mentality of the crowd. This comes from the administration. This comes also how life is. Wages, and you know, that's everywhere in the world. Wages are not increasing. Things are becoming unaffordable more and more for people. How do you address these matters? It's a huge mess. It's hausgemacht.
We will get into that. And unfortunately, I have to agree with what you said about how the system is set up, how it's working, how it isn't efficient. Fax, I didn't even know faxing is still an English word. I mean, it's a big word in German. However, you, myself, a lot of people, we complain a lot, the regulation, bureaucracy, and I think it's fair.
Oh, yes.
It's fair and it's not unjustified. But is that the whole monster that sits underneath, or is it more like a core problem of inefficiency, about mindset of people, about fear, risk aversion of people living here? What sits? How would you characterize the deeper issue? Let's not only talk about the government, but also the people mentality, risk aversion, when we are looking at all these things like technology, innovation, efficiency, bureaucracy, regulation. What would you describe in the society, governmental society of people, politics? What is the core problem? How would you describe it?
The core problem, now we can talk about the governance of a nation and such things. In the end, it comes down, people deserve the government they bring into power. People deserve the government they bring into power. That's number one. And the government is not a foreign power that's ruling over Germany. The government itself is among from the German people. If you look up a little bit in history, recent history, not that recent, maybe you look up a certain gentleman who was a counselor of Germany. And we know how that went with the Russian gas deal. If you look up certain gentlemen from the north 20, 30 years ago, certain companies, how corporate takeovers go, the corruption happens at the very top. However, the whole mentality, I believe, is coming down to more so the fear of changing to a different direction than what we are used to, always doing what we have. Let's, for example, maybe you were drunk and you were driving home. You managed once, you managed 10 times, you managed 100 times, but that doesn't mean you'll manage every single time. Just because it has worked every time doesn't mean it will always. You could try to manufacture a typewriting machine in the 1990s, all while the keyboard has taken over. And I think it's a mentality. And this is also coming from the change that is required. How many young politicians do you see? None. How many people who try to change anything and get dwindled down? It is coming from a mindset that is deeply rooted. That is my opinion. I'm not the Pope. I could be just wrong.
Yeah, I agree. And as I mentioned to you before, we had a nice pre-call on this. I was living many years in shock, surrounded, let's say, or still surrounded by denial, and this is how it came from my side to this channel, where I was thinking I'm the one insane. Since COVID, running around, thinking, is not everyone in our society seeing what is happening around us? Let's say ESG, COVID, politics, public TV, propaganda to some extent. There's a lot of things that is going on, and I'm walking around since 5 years in my mind thinking I'm going crazy because I see it, and everyone around me doesn't want to see it, or sees it and doesn't want to speak it out. So basically I'm seeing different mentality of mindset, yet the minority still people really seeing the truth of what's happening, that we are not having a rosy perspective, a rosy golden future. I see three buckets of people. The ones are living in complete denial of reality, saying we are living in the best Germany of all times. We are having such a great life. Let's spend our money to development in China, in Ruganda, in wherever, to build some wokeism streets and gender politics in Africa. These people, then I have the second bucket of people that see the reality but do not dare to speak it out because of social, professional consequences and so on. And a minority that sees it and speaks it out, and these are usually the people that go for changes. Let's say they make drastic changes. However, what does it need for all the buckets to make a change and to wake up? How do we get there? Is it the crash, like always, that people wake up after?
We need discussion. People need to discuss. Now, you have said, and we had this brief conversation yesterday, and I mentioned now, all of the friends I do have around here in Germany, they're all ethnic Germans. They're German people. And I haven't met really, of course, you'll meet people like that who are completely full of themselves. Oh, I'm from the greatest country in the world, and I invented everything. Although, we don't take blame for other people's actions. However, we always take credit for somebody
Yeah.
from the past,
Yeah.
whatnot. We
Yeah.
do that. I would argue that a good portion of 60% of German people, or non-German people, 60% of people living in Germany. My interaction mostly is with Germans, but I've also interacted with other minorities, Turkish, what you have, and such people. And the whole mentality is actually more closer to what you believe or how I see it than not. People know it's changed a lot since the 90s. People see that the thing is going downhill. It'll go belly up sooner or later. People see that. People know that. They feel that. And that makes them bitter. They cannot do anything to change it. Which brings to the second point. You, me. Now, I also interact with people, some of which are, close friends of mine in some very high up big organizations based in Germany. I'm not going to drop any names. Good friends of mine, friends, not just business relations. Some of them are CEOs in some of the largest corporations right now in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
They also are thinking about leaving, some of them. And they also have the same mentality. What's changing? What's going on? Why is it going downhill? Let's say I believe this friend of mine told me in Ravensburg, you mentioned gender politics. In Ravensburg, there was a lady who was running for local MP, I believe. And she had the criteria that she would like to dedicate consultation and finances. Germany collected close to $1 trillion, by the way, last year, I believe, in revenues, tax revenues, for the menstrual cycle and the menopause cycle. We need independent lobby dedicated. All our money needs to be put in there. Let's spend it. We have to spend things not on our streets. We have 30% of the infrastructure that's falling apart. Whenever I speak to a German, they know it. Deep down inside, they know it. Das ist Deutschland, Deutschland, Deutschland. That's all they say. Well, does it mean that represents every German? No. There are German people who are either doing really poor jobs and they are going to be radicalized. They'll be given the propaganda, hey, it's only immigration, and immigration is an issue. It is an issue. It is an issue. Depends on which immigrant. Somebody like me.
We will come to that part, but
absolutely,
it's what you say. We have a lot of money for various things, just not for what matters in terms of our society, the people who work, infrastructure, education, kids, people who retire. What else comes to my mind? Christmas market lights.
If I may add something there, because there was a third point you mentioned, which is what can we do about it? I said discussion. More people need to discuss this matter. People don't want to talk about it because they're afraid they'll be singled out.
They're afraid of
they'll be seen as whatever. They are afraid to talk about it. They're afraid to talk about politics. They're afraid to talk about the nation, what's going on. I think you even mentioned in one of your videos, I believe your mother said, hey, take your video down. You might be...
the police might come. Why are you doing these videos, these sort of videos?
Just think about
content provision.
Is this democracy? Why do we have that fear? And the second thing I want to mention quickly is, what are you going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? What's the average German guy going to do about it? All he can do is vote for politicians who are running the same dwindling bullshit. And you might want to use a blip there. They cannot do anything. The average person cannot do anything. So only choices you have left is you leave the country, build your future somewhere else, or just stay there and deal with it. And you decided to leave, I decided to leave.
I mean, I have been forcing dialogues for years, and yet through COVID, things accelerated on the one hand, on the one side from a systemic, let's say, downshift and downfall, but deepened or worsened the possibility to have valid conversations without consequences.
Yes.
And that's quite shocking to see. Me, for my part, I couldn't hold it in anymore. That's why I have to speak open about it. But I agree with you. The first thing is, I mean, we are already mentally one step further trying to change things and forcing more dialogue. Um, but I agree with you. The dialogue and the discussions need to be there without having fear of consequences. That's the first step. If you don't dare to speak out your truth, where is that gonna get you?
No discussions. It just keeps going the way it is. If you want to change something, be the change yourself. Start somewhere, and in the end, you
Yeah.
as a person can only help yourself, those around you, your family. You can only do so much as a
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. The sad thing is, I tried also in a lot of my friends to discuss these topics in recent years, and I realize there's pushback. They don't want to see. I mean, for me, it is insane to yet think we are doing well as a society in Germany. From an economic perspective, inflation is everywhere, but so many things, public speaking, speaking your opinion, are going down the wrong way. For me, it's amazing to still see so much denial that this has
Yes.
unfortunately also cost me a lot of friends or people thinking, okay, I'm radical or I'm like an extremist or whatsoever, you know. So that
Mark
is
Twain has an interesting saying: whenever you are with the majority, take a step back and reassess the situation. He was also in Germany. He wrote an interesting book. I might have to write the second part of it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we touch base on the society a lot. We need dialogue and honesty. The real
The
maybe
other
to
matter of society is also you can only push a society so far until
exactly.
it just goes back. We are also taking in more than we can handle, and it's the job of the government. You cannot just blame the people for everything. The
Yeah,
people are a product of the governance. The people are a product of how they're shaped, education.
It's-
These are all, comes
I
from
I
higher up.
agree, and you are absolutely right. The government has a huge responsibility. In my opinion, it's not fulfilling that at all. However, in order to make a change next to the dialogue, people need to accept the truth. Accepting the
Yes,
truth and the reality is the first step in healing. I'm not sure who
agreed.
said that, but in order to move on and have progress, you need to face reality without consequences and accept things how they are.
Yes,
If you're lying to
that's
yourself,
a
you
good
will not
approach.
heal and you will not get on. And I think that is a big problem we see collectively in our society.
Accountability, Christoph.
Exactly,
Accountability.
also a big part.
Let's say, let's take, I'm not trying to talk about the woke gender politics and all that stuff that has tried to shape our whole society. Now, I would like to put down, I'm a centralist. I don't belong to the far right. I don't belong to the far left.
Yeah,
Not the far
agree.
left, Jesus. Not the left, not the right. I like taking perspectives. I read news. I try to, let's say, sometimes go on ground news, what you have. News will come to you if it's big enough. Usually, you check the news, you check both sides, make up your opinion from that, check the sources, and such and such. You cannot always go with emotions, although emotions are great, sure. You have to be factual. You have to accept
Yes.
the reality of the matter. You can't just say, hey, we're great, like Rome burned while Nero watched his games. We
Hmm.
can do that, and we are doing that as a collective group of people.
Hyde, let's talk about business reality
Oh,
in
yes.
Germany. When you came to Germany back in the day, you have set up a GmbH here, which is like a legal liability entity, a corporate structure. Um, how was your experience, and how would that experience have been different comparing it to New Zealand?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Where do I begin with this one? All right. So, as a small fact, let's say in Germany, you're allowed to just touching basis of my experience coming up to leading up to this formation of a GmbH, which in German is a Gesellschaft. How do you say that in German? Let's give some
Gesellschaft,
German.
Gesellschaft mit beschränkter Haftung. So it's like
There
limited
we go.
liability. You have personal protection against liability.
Exactly. And then you have KKG, you have AG,
Exactly. Yeah.
those different ones. So that's one of the highest ways you could actually have your company registered in Germany. However, it's not easy. And my first experience with German bureaucracy, that kind of left an interesting taste on me. You have to do this anmelden. You have to go to a local registration office, stay in line, get out a ticket. I'm like, okay, something new. It's a cool experience. You don't want to do it every time, but it's okay. Then trying to get a driver's license. So as a New Zealander, you're allowed to drive, just drive for a year, that's fine. But after that year's passed, you must get a German driving license.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took me 2 years to get that. 2 years to get that, and then I had to show up in an office, stand in line with maybe 300 people. I kid you not. This was in Stuttgart.
Yeah. Sure.
Wait 2 hours, go in, and I was hoping that was the end of that. We've been trying. It took us 1.5, almost 2 years, also with the GmbH from the time that we applied for it. Now I own about 80% something shares in it. There's some folks, my partners, some are Germans, some are foreign shareholders. That's basically the shell company. Now, my goodness, registering a GmbH it's not just the monetary matter. For most people, it may be a bit difficult. You have to put down about 25,000 euros, something like this, all right? But even money doesn't get you anywhere. Even money won't work for you. The paperwork involved, we had our own company lawyer. He's probably watching this. Probably he's watching it. So if you are, great job. And he's now going to be liquidating the whole assets next year and all such things. It took us almost 2 years for a simple process from the time we put it down, application. We had to pay twice at a very reputable law firm in Stuttgart who was responsible for having this whole thing registered. Just because the gentleman who had read out the whole contract in German,
Yeah, by
and
law
he
you
did it in
need
a
to do
very
it.
auctioneer kind of way, like the auctioneers in Texas do. You might want to look it up. Zing, zang, ding, 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 ding. Kind of funny. That man had left the company after 2 months, 2 months after this incident. And therefore, the whole thing is invalid because they could not have it processed by then. And we had to apply for it again.
Yeah.
And just this, Jesus, gosh, and with the visa and all such things, every 3 months I even had to bring some stocks. I used to have a warehouse in Scotland. I had to bring those to Germany just to show. It's just bureaucracy, paper pile after paper pile. Most people just quit. I won the war.
Yeah.
I won it. I came, I saw, and I decided to leave. In New Zealand, the process will take you maybe 30 minutes online, and you will have a result in 24 hours. You can do it online, and that's about it.
So you are saying it took you 1 year, a lot
Almost
of
2
money.
years.
I mean, not only financial money, but also human capital, people you needed to deploy, to offer, the whole process around to be legally conform. If you tell me, and this is an experience from a lot of other countries as well, where the setup is, you can do it in an afternoon, in a week's time, compare this to a new digital world we live in today, you cannot, as an economy, expect to be somehow competitive in any sort of domestic or international view if just the structure, the setup of the company, all the flows, the processes take you so long time. I mean,
it's very inefficient, and that's when my eyes were opening more and more. And some of my friends, I told them all this experience. Now I have a couple of friends who actually are investors in the company as well. They own shares, and they were, of course, in big corporate positions. They didn't have to deal with. They already have the corporation with their lawyers and all such. They never really had to deal with it, starting their own company and doing it like that, where even money doesn't get you places. And their eyes started opening, like, wow, why is it this long? And then I showed them, hey, look, if you want to open something in your zone, it goes like this. Why is it this long? It's very inefficient. And they were surprised for a nation that prides itself of being very efficient. It really isn't.
Yeah. But in the end, nothing runs, and that's my question. What's the root of this? Is it mindset, incentives?
No.
This bureaucratic regulatory monster we have that gives you such a disadvantage economically in any sort of competition? What's the root cause of this? Is this control by the government when you talk to foreigners? How do you explain this logically to anyone that setting up a process as a company to function in Germany and doing business is so burdensome?
Okay, multifaceted question. I can elaborate on my perspective on it, my take
Yeah,
on it.
yeah,
And it's not just a yes or no that is bureaucracy or if it's the mentality of
yeah.
the people. It
Obviously
isn't.
not. Yeah, yeah,
You have to look a little bit, you have to dig deep a little bit on the 90s, maybe the 80s. Now, if you remember, I believe in 2013, a certain counselor, I believe, had said the internet is the Neuland. We all know who that is.
yeah,
And had some very colorful policies that some of us are, I guess, regretting in our own ways.
yeah,
If you remember the dot-com bubble burst, a lot of companies were just invest. Oh, they got a website. Let's invest. The dot-com bubble in the 90s.
yeah,
So, like most countries, Germany also experienced that.
yeah,
Guess
yeah,
what? Okay, there's a certain group in Germany. I don't know how to put it, but they said, "Hey, look, we have lost all the jute production, I believe, in Germany." But guess what? So has every single other country in the European Union. When you are producing stuff to, accelerate and go into new things, new innovation, technology, you have to get rid of some of the old baggage. You cannot do the old and have the manpower to do the new. That's called sunk cost fallacy in economy. Sunk cost fallacy. So what we have Germany right now, the model is sunk cost fallacy, which basically I'm sure you're aware of it, but just for your audience, just to clarify it,
yes,
it is let's say you buy a car for let's say 50,000 euros. You buy a car for, okay, or let's just call it 10,000. Let's keep the
yeah.
numbers
Make
straight.
make it easy. Yeah,
10,000. You buy a car for 10,000, and this is something that's supposed to last you 10 years. Around the fourth or fifth year, the car starts to fail, and you figure out you have to invest another $7,000-8,000 on it, and then you might be able to run it for another 2-3 years. At that moment, you have to decide: do you want to get rid of the old car infrastructure? Unless it's a classic car. I'm into classic cars. I own them all over the world. I love my cars. I won't buy a new car for anything. That said, do you actually want to keep investing in something that will keep costing you more and more? Let's say the copper in Germany. We still use copper lines. That's also a monopoly.
yeah,
It
yeah.
comes from deeply rooted matter of control from the
Yes,
governance, yes, and people who have been trained like that, because people are a product of their surroundings. They are a product of their home, people they mix with. The mass collective
yeah,
understanding
yeah,
is the culture.
yeah,
That's all it is. Like a beehive, it's a culture. So the culture has been designed in a way to have more control over the population. This bureaucratic monster exists for a reason. Again, going back to the mercantilist economy, we have our main industries.
yes,
Automotive
yes,
industry is one of the biggest ones. You don't want other new startups and those things to start over. Sorry, startups to come over and people working for there, which will
yeah,
reduce the volume of people working for the automotive industry, for the pharmaceutical industry, and those
yeah.
things. And they don't want that. They want to
I
have it
I
designed the
think
same
is
way they have it.
to add to that. I think it's bad incentives structurally embedded. We have a monster of regulation, bureaucracy, taxes, and so on embedded too structurally that I see also the challenge. Even if people wanted to change radically, it wouldn't happen right away because it's too entangled from my point of view. That's, let's say, in addition to what you said, but I also think still mindset is also an issue. To
Mindset, yes.
mindset in terms of um, being proactively going and willing to drive new things proactively and not always wait and see for other technologies, nations, whatever, whoever is making progress. In my point of view, deeply embedded into the German system is this sort of wait and see mentality.
Yes.
Let's not move too fast. Let's first see how things are moving in the economy from competitors, how this product is adapted. And you don't see any proactivism at all. I think
That proactivism is killed from the higher up, let's say in a company. And we all know how much the big companies get their,
yeah,
how easy it is for them to just go and have access to, the
Yes.
offices of the premier, counselor, what you have. We know how it works overall, and they don't want it that way. They simply don't want it that way, and people will have the trickle down effect, and they will just swallow it. And the main thing that comes down right now, the mentality of the people now, German people are not people, they're intelligent people, they're smart people, I'd say. However, they're not the people to go out and go radical. They're not going to go start rallies and marches. And
They are
let's
not.
say the Italians may do
Yeah.
that, the French. You have certain folks in Europe who will do that, some people who won't. Germans are not those people. They're
I
tax-paying
agree.
people.
The German
Although they realize the social contract is no longer valid. The
Yeah, I agree.
social contract their ancestors had is no longer valid for them. They can't even have a house. They can't even. But that's going everywhere, I suppose.
Yeah. The German mind is vastly different than, I mean, in Europe we are very diverse, but for example, the French people, they go right away onto the street when they are disagreeing. Um, this revolutionary spirit, so to say. However, the German tolerates a lot, too much in my point of view. But if there is a point where enough is enough, then it's historically at least, then it got really ugly really fast, because the mind tolerates a lot, but once you cross a certain line, then it ended up, historically speaking, very ugly.
And that's what we would want to avoid in general where possible. Because you
Exactly.
must also remember revolutions have a tendency to eat their children.
Yeah.
If we're not careful, parties always, there's always somebody who will hijack a revolution, what you have. And it, we would like a change to be gradual and take effect, but people need to start realizing it. Those who hide behind an identity because you're born in a piece of land and you speak a certain language that makes you, oh, we're just better. Actually, the reality is you're coping. That needs to end. People need to stop being afraid and start discussing with the person next to them. Just reach out, just start talking, what's going on, and then make mindful decisions. Will they do that? I don't think so.
Let's move on to a different experience we all encountered in the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years. Many people say Germans in Germany works until, let's say, it doesn't. Was there, also looking at COVID, was there, besides, of course, the harsh reality that you just shared, was there a moment where you said Germany showed its real face in terms of disadvantage, different beliefs that you had when, for example, during COVID, than what you encountered? What was your experience?
My experience in COVID. Now, there are a lot of restaurants that went out of business, of course. I'm not in the restaurant business. For me, it was glorious for business. Business boomed. However, I'm in a niche, I'm in a different sector. Most, for a lot of folks, it didn't. COVID worked in my favor to exponentially grow my business even more. However, looking at society, because I'm not all there is to society, you're not all there is to society, we live in a society. People have jobs, people have other businesses than yours or mine. There are other interests, people have their beliefs, which should be respected to a logical degree without going completely woke or something like this, which is something I'm not supportive of. Now, it comes down to what I have noticed is the harsh lockdowns. Sometimes they had their advantage, disadvantage. Advantage one I see is a lot of German stores. Let's say when I arrived in Germany, you could not, cash is king. Cash is still king in Germany. That also goes down to the fiat currency, the belief in the fiat currency. We all know how that went ages and ages ago. We know how recessions go, how the fiat currency can collapse when it's
Yeah.
not backed
To,
by something of substance. They started using the card. They finally allowed you to use a card, a bank card, or a post card, or a what do you guys call it? EC card, EC card.
yeah, yeah.
You could use that now and this is coming in Stuttgart, which became one of the most expensive cities in Europe for a time. For a year or two, it was one of the most expensive cities to live in. And they started allowing people to use cards and such things. So that was a positive thing. All while the way the Corona situation was handled, questionable.
Yeah. 2 points to add on this. I mean, it's true. The German way of paying was really going away and accelerated from cash to credit schemes and credit card system, digital payments was really pushed forward during COVID. I personally think it's still good that a lot of people are also nowadays still pay cash because cash is king, cash is anonymity. However, I mean, of course, you should always have all options. That's my point of view if you want to survive and live in a modern world. Even though I prefer cash in most situations, you should always have the possibility to pay by card. That's the first thing to add. And the second thing is just talking about the lockdowns, but there were also harsh lockdowns in New Zealand. How do you see the difference in, let's say, what was your experience? Were you even in Germany during that time? And
So
if so, how was your experience?
Mostly during Corona times, I preferred spending my time outside of Germany.
Okay.
And the other matter is, I actually was the first. Our company was, and I had just arrived from New Zealand. We donated 10,000 masks in Stuttgart alone.
Yeah, that you mentioned. Yeah, elaborate on that.
We donated them to schools in Bavaria before the companies or anybody were. They were giving 1 or 2 masks. So for a governance that is, and Germany is one of the richest economies in the world, you cannot deny that. However, the people's population are not in correlation with the GDP and the politicians and their spendings, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Now, talking big about we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. They didn't even donate any of the. Oh, we need masks. Who's gonna donate them? Who's gonna put the masks there? Months after I did that, the old people's hospitals, they had been given 2 or 3 masks to some nurses. I figured I'd donate it out of my own pocket privately. The German government tried to take me to court for donating gifts. How ridiculous is that? Thank goodness I have good lawyers. The way it was handled was chaotic, in my opinion. It was rather chaotic. They could have done a better job. New Zealand, in my opinion, did a much better job. However, to our advantage, we are an island. We are an island of a lot less people.
So basically what you are saying is what happened to you and your experience also with the donation of the masks and being involved and seeing from your experience how it was here in Germany. It was not only temporary mistakes. These are more structural flaws by the government, by the society, by the system.
It's corruption.
Becoming evident and visible.
It's corruption. I know literally folks who have taken names down and gotten their friends to come by and random people to come by so they would get paid that they have tested someone. Everybody was out. On the smaller scales. You had companies taking advantage of many situations as soon as the thing hit for the second wave or the third wave. There are also privacy things. We are very big on privacy and such things. But you have an app that can track you and go here and there.
Yeah, and all of a sudden,
some people didn't like it.
All of a sudden, privacy goes up with an app that they just introduce here from one day to the next one. It's like always, what I believe, in my opinion, is whomever it serves from an incentives perspective, and whoever has more power will override whatever law rule there is, somehow justifying it differently and framing it. One of my favorite, most intense topics, let's grab a hold on this. Taxes, incentives, and fairness in this country. Germany has very high taxes. I think there are still a couple countries higher, like Belgium and maybe 1-2 others that have higher taxes. But yet Germany also makes high promises. Do you get value in return? What is your view on that? The value you perceive?
I'm very glad you are touching this subject, Christoph. Taxes. Now, that's a new can of worms. We'll open it. We'll tackle it. Now, tax-wise, as I said, there's a mentality that people do feel, and the social contract itself is not working the way it should. There's a social contract. You, as a citizen of a country, a member of a group, you pay taxes to improve the overall condition of the nation. That will affect you also and everybody else. Now, where are these taxpayers' money? Where's it really going exactly? Now, 30% or more of the infrastructure in Germany is severely needing reconstruction. Things are falling apart. We are still not. Our country is like a business. You have to make it easier for the worker, in this
Okay.
case, the citizen or the people of the nation, for them to work. You have to upgrade, let's say, their means of work, modes of communication, modes of transport, all of this, living standards and such things. We are still using the old mentality of brick and mortar houses, let's say, built in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Most of our infrastructure is not really new. Look at the Stuttgart 2021 project. How much money was
Yeah.
put in there? I believe it was twice as much to construct that thing, which has not been constructed. Promise was made 2021. Now we're 2025. They never
Yeah.
said which century, so that's what the common joke is in Stuttgart. Anybody can look up
Just
and find out how much corruption went in there to make that happen.
Just for the audience, Stuttgart 21 oder 21 is a huge infrastructure mobility project working, I think, related to the train and also the surroundings, which has been ongoing for decades. I remember in 2012, 13, I was working for a bank in Stuttgart and traveling back and forth, and the project was still like, we are going to be finished in the next years. And it's what you say now. They are 10 years, more than 10 years later, they have extended it, not only by time, but by millions and billions, of course, obviously as well. And this is just a symbolism of a lot of no value you receive in Germany as a return.
No value in return. Let's say German government collected, I believe, close to a trillion, I believe. Look it up. I read this
I know. The
a
trend
while
is even
ago.
rising. Yeah,
Yeah,
consistently
so it
rising.
collected a lot of revenue. Taxes are being collected. We boast that it's a very rich and advanced country. Yes, those up there living in their bubble, running the politics. Yes, spending, taking it from the folks. Let's say that's what happened back in the ages of empires and kingdoms. You tax the peasant until you can't anymore, until the peasants revolt. Quiet citizen is a taxpayer, and Germans are tax-paying people. However, many German folks, now I recommended this one gentleman to go start his own garage. He was working at a garage. He was a mechanic. He eventually became my mechanic and such things. And this gentleman started this business, and the taxation and the paperwork is so ridiculous. KFZ mechanic, KFZ, that's the German standard Meisterschaft mechanical. He was doing now work only the simplest things possible in his workshop to show that he's earning little, and he was doing black work in construction sites. And that's just an example of so many people who go behind just to avoid this nonsensical thing, because they see it never comes back to them. We have bridges that are falling apart, collapsed, tunnels. You just go around Stuttgart, go around some places, go to Munich, have a look around the living conditions.
Really touching on one of my nerves here, because we have the tax waste, incentives, disincentivize everywhere on a corporate government level everywhere. How, let's talk about government, what you just mentioned and outlined. These projects like Stuttgart 21, they are going wrong everywhere. I can literally name you tons of them. The airport in Berlin, in Hamburg, Elbphilharmonie. So many projects, by time, by money, by promises, no return delivered in return. Just awful. That's corporate level. How is it possible that corporations and individuals making money, having a business, prefer to earn less by somehow instead of making more money? That's what I mean. The incentive is totally wrong.
Let's say
if you have a business and you are trying to navigate it in a way that you make less money, how this is not sustainable. I mean, this
it is absolutely not sustainable, and I don't understand why the government hasn't seen it, or they're avoiding it, and why some people would say we're doing the right thing by collapsing our own everything we built up. Looking at it, what you're paying in taxes, you're never getting that back in return, and you're getting a lot of money out of your wallet. Let's say you're earning, let's say 100,000. This is the ballpark. Now they'll try to tax you. Hell, even I know in Germany people get taxed for religion. People get taxed for religion.
Myself.
There were some friends. They're not religious people. I believe they're Catholic or whatnot. They had to pay about 10% or something, 8 to 10%, something like that. Taxes. Now the Vatican collects $1 billion tax-free, from the world. Now, if you belong to a religion, you have to be taxed. Now, what about now? I'm not a religious person. What about other religions? Do they tax all religions,
Yeah,
Christoph,
no,
or just?
not necessarily, or not to my knowledge, but this is exactly the discrimination I felt. I mean,
Oh, there you go.
in order to be Catholic and in order to be able to marry in Catholic Church in Germany, you need to be registered and be paying taxes. Germany.
Jesus.
And it's 10%, up to 9.5% of your income
Right.
taxes. So it's quite a lot if you aggregate the numbers just to be able to do that. And yeah, I felt discriminated, but that's just one of the flaws. However,
Taxes. Now let's see taxes. So we talk a little bit more on taxes, if you allow.
yeah,
Now, tax-wise, they tried to tax me well over 60% a couple of years ago. Now, one way to do it legally is you have your own earnings under a certain amount, and all the investments go back into the company, which will reinvest, and that's how you can keep your taxes down. Fine, you can do that. I have a friend who unfortunately does not own his company, but he is the CEO of one of the largest companies in Germany. He was taxed over 55, I think 58 something percent. Now, that is still a hefty amount, and on top, you have to pay healthcare, Krankenversicherung. In Europe, I think that's a thing. In New Zealand, that's unheard of because you are already paying taxes, and then you have to get a health insurance on top. That is nonsensical, but that's a medical topic we'll touch later on as for taxes. Where is it going? Now, you are paying, we can touch briefly on the energy sector, which we may touch later on. Let's talk
yeah,
about windmills in the north of Germany. I believe you're from the north. You're a north person from the
no,
north
from
of
Hamburg,
Germany.
yeah,
You've probably seen windmills around your
yeah,
hometowns or
yeah,
maybe further out in Kiel, what you have. Now, these are rented out. The operators of the windmills, they have to tell people, to those who are running them, to shut it down and still pay their wages because we don't have the infrastructure from the north of Germany to the south of Germany to transfer power that is generated extra. We don't literally have that. Extra power is something of a term, I guess, coined called ghost power, basically ghost energy. So you are paying money to build those things, which you'll never get down here because there's no lines connecting, to transfer the energy here. And you'll be burning, I believe, lignite, or what you have, the dirtiest form of coal, and you have to buy that and burn that. So you're paying twice. Poor investment strategy, poorly
yeah.
developed. So that's just one portion. Taxpayers' money. Are they building the roads? No, they're not. Are they renewing houses? Are they building new houses? How many are they building for the people they are bringing in? Is there sufficient capacity to hold all the people we bring in?
Yeah.
Taxes are a scam here.
We don't have a tax income problem because the numbers every year are rising and rising. We have a spending problem. That's obvious.
But that's
Because
not
at the
our
same
problem
time,
as the citizen or the people of the nation. Is the problem of the people we have elected or the people here have elected, and they have a spending habit or they have very poor decisions.
yeah. And you touch base on this. If you pay taxes and they're constantly threatening to increase taxes and want money, even what we talked in our pre-call, you almost feel like a criminal in Germany when you have a business.
You do. You do.
Before you
do.
even set up the company, you get almost harassed by the Finanzamt to prepay taxes on some hypothetical numbers. You get chased. You have maybe even jealousy from the government, or I don't know what kind of mentality. But the mindset in starting a business, also from a tax perspective in Germany, is complete failure. It's a catastrophe in terms of incentives.
That's
How
the
do you
minimum one
drive?
can add.
My question to you is, how do you drive this around and motivate people, young people, people of any age, to even set up and start a company in Germany? It is totally out of order.
It goes back to our original structure, the way the mercantilist economy is working here. Unlike China, which is also a mercantilist economy after they got rid of that communist hogwash of running it with the communist policy. No, sorry, that's not working. So they took away the monetary aspect of it, running business. So at least they're innovating and such things, investing heavily subsidized and such things. All right. Now you can also touch on the level of the banking system in Germany, which is very unique.
Yeah.
They will charge you money to have an account. Most banks will have trouble issuing you a business corporate credit card system. Some banks do. Now, that's one thing. The banks, you have the Landesbank.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
have the Volksbank. These were set up for different reasons, and we still have the old banking system. Of course, today we have some new banks, N26 and the other one, this and that. You have those. At the same time, the banking system itself. Let's say you are a high earning person. Let's say you are rich, and that's also a matter of perspective. Now,
Totally.
going by the perspective itself, the people don't know any better, so they buy into this setup. Now, can you change it? No, you can't change it. Taxpayers' money, the way they're investing it, is it going back into the infrastructure to digitalize the whole system so it's easier, so people can invest? And why should somebody invest when the whole system is not digitalized? The whole
Yeah.
system works
Agreed. Totally.
against you, it discriminates against you, including the banking. Go try to buy a house. Now, I put down a few hundred thousand, we did just to grab a house, which is more like a big manor, a little bit larger than the place I'm staying in right now, which is already quite substantial. Regardless of that, I was denied just based on the fact, not that we're earning, that doesn't matter. You don't work for German companies, so it's a
You're
high
not
risk
employed.
matter.
Yeah, you're
You're
not
not
employed by
employed, you're just
contract.
self employed.
Yeah.
Uh,
So,
I,
it,
what?
in
You're putting
fact,
down 10 times
yeah,
more money than somebody would to
yeah,
buy a house in
yeah,
cash. Why would I? I can
yeah,
go somewhere else and buy something even larger. I don't need that.
yeah.
So that's one form of discrimination. You want to run a business, you're stacked up with paperwork, unnecessary nonsense. You even do taxes. You find a tax agent who's so overbooked. We have taxes that have to be done 1 year behind because of the volume. And why is that? Because paper, paper, paper. We literally have to chop down the Amazon and print more paper
Yeah.
by making everything green. That's illogical. That's completely illogical. And
It's
we
totally
discriminate
illogical.
against people. Last point, we discriminate against people who will bring business, who will bring money. Why? These people bring you more money into the country.
Yeah.
They bring in more jobs. They bring in more industry.
Yeah.
Why the hell would you make their life difficult? Then you're losing them. They can just go to some other place and do it.
Yeah,
Most
I
people won't want to
agree.
work with it.
Totally basic economics, and I mean, we could talk about so many angles of this, from
Oh yeah.
motivation to corporations, government level. The worrying part for me is that the government is not only making more money per year in tax income and willing to spend more money and making more debt and increasing taxes. We don't want to be talking negatively only the time. We also want to come
No.
up with solutions. But I mean, for me, the answer how to change and to make an impact is easy. Also, I said it in some of my other videos, is for families who are paying already by raising children, which is a future taxpayer, lower the tax rate, income tax per child.
Agreed.
Give certain incentives, lower taxes in general, and make taxes maybe more on consumptionary spending, that the people who consume more spend more, for example. There's a lot of ways how you could turn it around. My reality is I don't see any value in return, because the government is there to give you education, retirement, safety especially. You must think the government has a monopoly on protection and safety.
Now, there's a few topics here you mentioned, and I'll address them one by one, if that's all right. Now,
Sure.
one thing I would mention is the way the government spends. Yes, you have the illusion that you are a rich country. However, the purchasing power of the average person living in Germany is not increasing, I'm afraid. You
No.
may say it's not increasing anywhere else either. At the same time, I will say you have higher purchasing power when you are in Australia,
In
when
fact,
you're in New
if
Zealand.
I interrupt there 1 second, is there were a new data is released that the median income, I mean the wealth that German average people actually possess and have, is not that high, is quite low, and other countries like Spain, Italy are way higher on median income basis wealth. So I
I
mean,
know.
I agree to what you said. It has the fame of being rich, but this is not the reality, and
Not anymore.
not
Not
anymore.
anymore.
And
Maybe
the
it was. Maybe it
substance
was.
it was also economically driven by sustainable and hard work manufacturing industries, which is living off the substance now, in my point of view. So
Yes, they are. They are. Now, touching on the subject of young people, how you could even encourage them to do anything different. Let's say birth rates. Just to briefly touch, they are going this way. It's a reverse pyramid going that same way as, let's say, in Japanese and some
True,
countries like that.
true.
Also, feminism has a good deal of things to do with it, all such things. Third and fourth generation feminism, what you may say. And that's a whole different topic. Nothing against women's rights, but at the same time, using that to go, equality is this. Equality is not putting one down to put the other up. Now,
Yeah.
let's say you also mentioned the topic of immigration. And a lot of people coming here. Now, there's a multifaceted matter here. There's a language barrier. We're bringing in people who we're not even sure if they're capable of doing jobs or even want to do the
Yeah.
jobs, okay, beyond doing average
I
things.
mean, how do you
Number two, the
set the
language.
yeah? How do you set the incentives if you still get paid for not doing anything,
You
mostly
don't.
unconditional?
You don't. You don't.
Why
You
would
don't at
you
all.
look for a job when you have to work 40 hours a week and then earning the same or maybe slightly a couple percent more than if you didn't work? I
Exactly.
mean, it doesn't
Why
make
would
any
you?
sense.
No, it
Nobody,
doesn't. And
nobody
that's
does it.
financial suicide. That's financial suicide. And because it's not infinite, Christoph. It's
Yeah.
not infinite. Resources and finances of our country
It's,
that we give back as social, we have this social obligation nonsense going around. It is a capitalistic country with a lot of emphasis on those social matters, which is good in a way until they take it too far, and it becomes a bureaucratic monster, as you put it. Why would you do those things if you can just go by life just getting burger guilt? Which
I
so
mean,
there are
it
people with
needs to
different
make
perspectives.
sense. Everything needs to make sense. That's why, from my point of view, Switzerland works because you need to prove that you're integrating yourself with language, knowledge about the political system, and so on and so forth. And you need to show actively that you're looking for a job, and then after some time, you need to be working. I mean, there's nothing such as a, let's say, ongoing and unconditional free rider society. It simply doesn't work. And
There comes the backlash. Two backlashes. You. That's why I mentioned it is finite. It is not infinite. That there is an
yeah,
unlimited resource of money falling
yeah,
from the sky, and we can just give everybody, give what you like. It doesn't work that way. Where does our the fund, the whole fund, come from? It comes from people giving taxes, people working, paying their taxes. Now we have a generation of folks who will not work like the last generation. There's no reason for them to. And
yes,
when you retire, Christoph, if you retire in Germany, forget about your retirement guild. Where do
I
you think it
totally
comes
agree.
from? If
Yeah,
one
forget it.
generation
Yeah, yeah,
contributes, so when you get old, you get it back. And when we don't contribute, when we have a society of higher unemployment, and you can show those numbers, we have more employed people doing what? Jobs that don't require you to pay that much taxes.
yeah,
Eventually, you'll run out, and you'll. Germany is a rich country. It's not going to happen overnight, but give it 30 years, 50
yeah.
years.
Exactly. It's just not gonna work. I mean, it's the
No,
toxic bomb that is going to explode in the future is so obvious for me. It's so painfully obvious. It cannot work. We don't have a high newborn rate. People are leaving the country, especially mostly people who contribute. You let everyone in unconditional. You're blowing money
yeah,
everywhere in the world. You are making more debt, asking for higher taxes, and with the debt and inflation eats and makes everything more costly. I mean, it's so obvious to see that it's not going to work. That's why I agree with you 100% on the point of, even if in 30 years you and myself will get retirement money, I don't count on it. It will be worthless, or it will have way less value than today. And the
yeah.
money you receive will never pay you even close to what you could buy today. I mean,
No, not at
it's
all. Not at all. With
totally out of the
inflation.
question. Uh, it's insane. Maybe in nominal terms you will still get money, but the money will not be worth much. I mean, it's talking about
Going
incentives
to one
because
topic, just to touch one topic. Now,
yeah,
I have some associates. They're of folks from Bavarian background, and they have friends, friends of friends, and people talk. Now, this friend of mine, and he was telling me about this Turkey. He has some Turkish friends. He was telling me about the folks who came around, let's say in the 70s, 80s, or even the 60s to rebuild Germany. The Italians, the Greeks, the Turks. Now, a lot of these people left their countries because they couldn't do any better. So they're already coming from poor backgrounds to do the manual labor jobs. And a lot of these communities managed. Now, I understand as an Auslander, as an outsider, there is a rift in certain sectors in life and certain portions in Germany between. We already have a country that's not running well. We have not worked on integration. And what I want to mention quickly here is one thing you might want to notice here is the cultural difference. You're not only bringing people who have a very different cultural background to you and me or us, they are not being easily integrated because of lacking things on our part and also their part. It takes two.
Yeah.
And the third being, we just don't have the capacity. And yet, instead of investing back into the country, into the people, let's just throw it around. And what happens when you do that? People of the nation get angry. And what happens when people get angry? The people will radicalize themselves just to get rid of their problems eventually, until that limit.
I think people need to be aware that whoever you let in, with increasing majority, will shape the future of your country culturally, from a society perspective, and so on. So it's what you say. It's not going to happen overnight. No. It's not going to happen in 2-3 years, but over the next decades. I get a lot of messages asking for deeper, more exclusive macro-related materials. That's exactly why I have created Macro Insider and Ally. If you want more depth, research, and behind-the-scenes macro thinking and materials, you will find it here below. So now we are pretty far left, at least here in Europe. And now the pendulum seems to be spinning to the right in the next decade probably. And when you have an imbalance on the left or the right, it's never good because it forces a move back somehow to the other side and then to the middle eventually again.
That has a negative effect also on the economy heavily, because when you have such a situation going, whenever the pendulum goes one side or the other, and I must mention for the audience, whoever may be viewing, there are multiple pendulums, not just one.
Yeah, exactly.
There is, let's say there's a pendulum for housing, there's one for civil rights, there's
energy
one for the
prices,
law, taxes,
economy,
dating, women's rights, men's rights, weather. There's all kinds of greenwashing, energy. There are multiple pendulums. And we are creating new pendulums. Every bloody year we have new pendulums we're creating. And when you have those things going to one extreme or the other, that's bad for business. You don't want to go in that country. Maybe, let's say, maybe you want to go to South Africa in certain parts as a person who's brown or white.
Exactly, because of lack of stability and certainty.
Yeah, it's not stable. Why would you make your business in a country? Why would you invest in a country that's not stable, where your security cannot be given?
From whatever angle it might be, exactly. Okay, Hyde, an interesting topic I see surrounded myself with is, and I cannot even deny them, is young people's work motivation today and how this shapes also our society. I see a lot of young people having no motivation to work, to show up, to make it to the next career level, has a lot of problems. Also to do with income, with taxes, but also inflation. And I can totally understand not pursuing and fulfilling their dreams today, like building a house, starting a family with children. Everything's got so expensive. Then you have steadily increasing prices everywhere and taxes, that people lost completely the ambition to work and achieve in terms of a career, a position, not to even mention being self-employed. What's your view and your experience on that? How do you see this reality shaping your everyday life?
Now, I've had this discussion a few times, and a lot of folks that I've had this discussion with are not in touch with the people on the street, or let's say people who are working class, young folks, let's say late teenage years, 20s, and such things. Now, I have this friend of mine from Limburg. He has been originally started as a worker for our company, managing social media and many such things. And eventually, I suppose in his own words, I fulfilled the role of a missing father. Now, I don't really like that. I don't particularly like that, but I take it as a badge of honor, I suppose. if I can have a positive influence on some folks, because I sometimes see some of them walking the same path I have. They don't have any incentive to even serve their country, and why should they?
Yeah.
Now, there was somebody who said back in the day, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. I call it hogwash.
Yeah, I agree.
At the end of the day, you're a taxpayer. Now, young people, they don't want any of this. I know young folks who got caught, okay, leaving school, then they're going to all become Bitcoin investors. They're going to buy penny stocks and all that. Then they have two children to take care of and a job that doesn't even pay their rent. And then they're thinking about buying a car that are on rental or something they have to pay, let's say $600 extra, €600 extra every month, which they don't have, but they can happily get the loan just to show off that they're in a status, just that aspect. There are young people like that, and they're being misguided because they are not. You don't have father figures. You have broken families.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we don't have the
That's
birth
it.
rates. That's why we brought in immigrants. Immigration was to combat that. What do you need for a well-functioning economy like Germany, Christoph? Here are the three basic things you need. You need cheap energy, which we had for the longest time. A lot of politicians around the world said, you're making a mistake buying Russian gas. Over 50% was relying on Russian gas. Cheap energy. Wonderful. You need a good percentage of engineers, people who are technically minded, because this is what this country is about. It's the country of engineers. Everything is built around that. And you need the last aspect, which is innovation.
Yeah.
We don't have cheap energy anymore. Do you remember the crisis with the Green Party when they mentioned the Heizung,
Yeah.
German Heizung, the heaters, heat pumps? They're a great technology to have. They work well in modern built houses, not on old German houses built with brick and mortar. Unfortunately, have you tried living in a castle? You'll probably have to burn down a forest just to warm up one room.
Yeah.
You don't put in ban people from purchasing, gas powered those things. And what did people do? They just went in masses.
Yeah.
The
I
heat pump
mean,
industry got screwed over.
it's
Young
obvious.
people just don't have the jobs. Now, this young man in particular, before he found me and our company, he actually started off as a customer. He wanted to buy a product from us. One thing led to another. We got talking, and he said, "Okay, I'm getting this opportunity to go to university again. I can get this other job, and currently I'm working as a receptionist at some company that serves automotives." And they screwed him over. I can tell you the whole story how young people get screwed over by systems, by companies, and they can do absolutely nothing because of bureaucracy. They get demotivated, and then they just. This young man found a university. He's studying still. He'll be finishing in 1 year, and he's working the second job now at another company. And he's barely making ends meet. He's barely making ends meet. And even when he goes working, the taxes will eat it up. It's a whole. But he's lucky enough to have an education. In Germany, that's the other thing.
Yes.
If you don't have education, you cannot be acknowledged. There's so many folks. Look at some of the greatest you have, business owners, company CEOs, what you have, all kinds of folks.
What?
It's about what you learn, and we haven't got past that mentality.
Yeah.
We are not encouraging young people. We are a country of older folks driving a car, keeping the young man all the way in the trunk every time he tries to come out. The car is going off the cliff, and the old people push him back in. And that's an analogy given to me by somebody from Bavaria.
I think you're referring to that the education is undergoing also innovation and technological change, not emphasizing and putting too much weight on degrees and outdated thinking, but going with modern concepts of learning and study and educating yourself.
Agreed. Also, how about we teach accounting? We need accounting. We have to do taxes. Why don't we teach that in schools?
Yeah. And not only that, but I mean, it's ripples through again also from the government. I have friends who were now unemployed, and they were doing a 6 to 9 month course on old, outdated project management schools concepts that are completely worthless. You can learn that in 1 week online with YouTube, with Udacity, different learning platforms. But that's a different topic. My point is, what do you advise young people today that you see? And is there a difference?
Invest in yourself.
1 second. Is there a difference in your advice if it was in Germany or, for example, in New Zealand?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
it's different. It's going to be slightly different because every country or surroundings is an ecosystem. You're born to a culture, you're born to a society, and you will only have at your disposal the tools that society gives you, the ability and the whatever education that society or the culture, whatever it can offer you. Things that could be offered in New Zealand may not be what's offered in China,
No.
or
No.
things that are offered in China may not be what's offered in Germany. So overall, my message would be to invest in yourself. You can never go wrong by investing in yourself. Number
No.
one. That's the most important aspect. Invest in yourself. Number two is, if you always do what you have or the previous generations have, you'll always be where you are. That's the definition of insanity. You take a cup, you fill it to the brim, do it again, expecting different results. If you always do what you have or previous people have, you will always stay where you are. Yes, you'll not make that many friends sometimes when you want to change something. But in the end, it's about you. The society will not feed you, really.
Yeah.
People don't really care what your well being is, what your thoughts and opinions are. Humans are selfish. And it's about time you also learn to give back when you're able to. Put yourself first. He who can help himself, then he can help others, or she,
No.
whatever it may be. That's number one. A lot of young folks are getting quite dwindled by social media and influencer culture. People giving up their whole lives to present themselves in a certain way for a few seconds. And then they are thinking, hey,
Yeah. That's not
I'm going to
reality.
be like that. Young people need to decondition themselves. Forget about nationalism. You can focus more on education, focus a little bit on politics, talk about it. What the previous generations have not done is talk about it, this communication. Do that more often. And hell, I wish you well.
I mean, I wouldn't advise them, for example, even if things are bad in Germany, to leave. I would exactly tell them what you said. Invest in yourself, study, be open-minded, be agile, and then the consequence out of it will flow naturally. Whether you leave then where you see different opportunities will flow all naturally. So, I mean, my advice is not to leave or to do certain things. Study what you like, invest in yourself, and everything else should go naturally go in the right direction for yourself. Then you will seize automatically the opportunities, the possibilities, either here or somewhere else.
The other thing I would mention here is accountability and, as you said, consequences. That's something that has been removed from our
Ownership,
society for some reason.
Yeah.
However, when we grow up, it does come biting us back.
Yeah.
And you cannot escape accountability in the end.
Exactly.
Just saying the right thing will come along if you just sit there, it's not the right way to go. Hey, I want my kids to do whatever they want. You have to guide them in a way. Parents
Exactly.
also have a
Agree.
responsibility.
Really valid point. That is my next question. Exactly to the bottom of what I wanted to get to is, how can we get young folks, younger generations, to be leaders again, to be to be willing and thriving for ownership? Because this has been completely vanished from my point of view in society. The urge to be leaders, to take courage, to take consequences, I don't recognize that anymore in Germany and in Europe. What's your view?
It's worldwide. It is worldwide. It is a worldwide issue. Let's say I belong to the millennials. Uh, this is a worldwide issue. It is affecting Germany as much as it's affecting, let's say, America or even New Zealand.
Yeah.
It affects everywhere. However, the opportunities you'll have in Germany may be different than in US, or lack of opportunities in the US or Canada or New Zealand. For those who may be in New Zealand, I would say the same. Don't just eliminate accountability based on your background, your ancestry, based on if you are whatever race you belong to. You have to, in the end, think for yourself. And as for leadership, we always had followers and leaders. That's just how society has been. There are a group of people who want to find a leader, and they find a leader. And there are leaders who want followers, or they just don't want followers, but they eventually end up getting followers. So
Yeah,
we cannot say we can live in a society, egalitarian society, dreamt by some communists. Everybody is a Bauer, everybody is equal. I know people who grew up in, some people are more equal than others. That's just how human society works. We just have to make it refined. That said, not everybody needs to be a leader. Not everybody needs to be a
yeah,
follower. Not
yeah,
everybody needs to finish university.
yeah.
Not everybody needs to have a daytime job. But there are people who must understand this is best of my capacity. Just enabling and encouraging the
Exactly,
youth,
exactly.
saying, do what you want and everything
Yeah.
will fall into place. You don't have to work for it. Go hit the
I
wall when you're
mean,
30, and
I
then
I
how it
totally
goes.
underline what you are saying. I'm not saying to people to be leaders. People need to identify their potential and
Yes,
thrive respectively. The
yes,
first part is the most important, to identify who you are, who you want to be, and what you want to achieve. And once you know this, the rest will come automatically. And this is probably, from my perception, we, with social media, the current system we live in with disincentivize, high taxes, bureaucracy, that I think a lot, especially younger generations, have lost their path and their understanding for where they want to go, what they want to do, what thrives them. And this is part, from my point of view, of the perspective of why, at least in my perception, we have less accountability, less ownership, less strive for being leaders. It's least,
yes, I completely agree with you. And this is something we have created worldwide.
yeah,
We have
yeah,
created this worldwide. Let's say, just
yeah,
to briefly touch on the iPhone generation, Steve Jobs, who came up with the iPhone, he never gave his children the iPhone. It's no different than raising your kid in front of a TV, like some people used to do, or not even being there. If you have a
yes,
child, that's a responsibility. All while there are children who also have to grow up. You are not a child when you're 25. You are now a grown up adult,
yes,
and whatever may have happened, you are responsible for yourself. And if you cannot make it in one sector, you try another. If you just give up and sit down, that's all you'll get. It's not going to get better. And the second point I want to mention is, I, I honestly, from my perspective, Christoph, I don't have a very optimistic answer to give you that this will change next year, that this will change in 5 years. This will take at least a good portion of 10 to 15 years, maybe even 20 years to change. We
yeah,
always have hard times.
yes,
So why do we have hard times? From soft people.
yeah.
Hard times creates more people
It's
who
a
are more
cycle.
hard up,
It's a
who create
cycle.
good times, and it's a cycle. And
Yeah,
right now we're caught up in this cycle. So I don't think there will be a great leap of change coming in the next 10 years. However, to look at from a capitalistic point of view, as a business owner, it's fantastic for me. I can have more wage slaves if that's how I want to put it, because that's where society is going.
yeah,
Let me put it this way: the whole world wishes to go dig holes, Christoph. Now, what do you do about it? You can either go dig holes with them, or
yeah. I
you
hear
can
you
decide not to
totally.
dig holes. There's another way you can go about it.
Yeah,
I build shovels. I will sell you shovels. If you want to dig holes,
yeah.
that's your business. I will sell you shovels.
Use it or lose it. It's going down that way anyway.
Yeah,
So
it is. It
it.
will get worse before it gets better. That's just how the pendulum goes.
Yeah, yeah,
We cannot give them an optimistic thing apart from try your best to lift yourself up, those around you, best you can. Have discussion, have an open mind. Don't let gender ideology, don't let some whatever influencer, some alpha male or some feminist loser or some bloody politician, whatever. Just think for yourself. Think about your future. Think
yeah.
about the people around you. Think about how your voting or decisions, whichever
Yeah,
party you're
voting.
backing,
Yeah,
how does that affect your
voting is
country?
important. That will shape the future of your country. Your vote is important. That's why you said right. Let's move on. Germany talks a lot about innovation. Germany wants to be leader, the AI, artificial intelligence leader.
Mm.
Where do you see that path? Have we, in as Germany and in Europe, have we missed the train of technology revolution,
Okay.
especially artificial intelligence? What's your point of view?
So now my business itself relies on being able to communicate with people from multiple continents. Let's say I have to catch up with engineers from USA. I have to go with production plants, be it in Finland, be it in China, folks in Australia. I have to communicate. So at least having the internet is a good thing. That's a good thing, but that's not enough.
You know my
And I remember
experience with the
before our
internet.
conversation, we are having a little bit of difficulty with our transmission
Yeah.
speeds and such things. Now, to touch the topic itself, just because you're the first to invent something or come up with an idea doesn't mean you are going to be the greatest or the best to implement it. The Japanese, look how the Rust Belt of America went. Technologically wise, is better never, it's better now than never. So it's a good thing they have decided to go in that direction. I must quote a certain counselor who said, "The internet is eine neues Land."
And a
Internet is
new
eine
world,
neues
yeah.
Land.
A new world,
This
yeah.
was 12 years ago. Excuse me, 12 years ago. In New Zealand, we have bloody fiber optics, bloody 15, 20 years ago when I was growing up. Here, they only started putting it in Stuttgart, where I was living in Riedenburg, which is a nice affluent place. In the 80s, they sold half of it from the farmers to millionaires, bungalows, bullshit. Well, internet, copper wires, the monopoly that the certain company here has over the copper wire ownership, and the ability to have fiber optics. We haven't even reached fiber optics yet. We are not even able to transmit power coming from north of Germany to the south. We are working on typewriters while you have the Chinese. Think about the new generation of people. They're not really car people. They're not car guys. They just want a thing that's electric. They'll drive around with a screen. We are building typewriters. We are now thinking about AI. That's been out. Technology
the
moves at a
future is
very fast
driverless,
pace.
is all connected.
We cannot
with
become
AI.
the leader. Sorry,
Yeah.
we will not become the leader in the next 5 years or 10 years. You can put all the effort. It will be a great battle. The Germans will fight gloriously with a lot of passion, and they will lose.
The
Because
question
they started
is,
too late.
the question is, isn't it already too late? Because China, USA, they are racing with gigantic amount of money investing in AI, in technology infrastructure, and into everything. Was just seeing China has an intense exponential amount of robotic use already, way more than the US. US has its other advantages. So I'm just thinking Germany's business model is based on, you said it before, cheap energy, outstanding product manufacturing industries, and good smart distribution and good competitive advantages.
I believe this is to pursue people in a certain direction. Let me elaborate kindly. Whenever somebody tells you something, be it the truth or the lie, they have one purpose. They would like you to believe or see a certain thing in a certain way. I didn't say that. I think that was Xerxes. No, that wasn't Xerxes. Who was it? That was Darius of the Persian Empire. I think that's who said it. Regardless of who said it, in this news article, why are they releasing it now, Christopher? Why do you think? Being realistic, we both know it's a bit too late to become the leader. All while, you don't have to be the leader. You don't have to be the greatest, the best, and super duper of the world. You just have to be able to do it to a good degree. Point number two, who are they targeting? They are targeting certain people who are either delusional, still believing Germany is the pinnacle of human civilization.
Yeah.
And these people will say, now we're going to become the leaders of AI, just like we're going to save planet Earth with our bottles.
I mean, that's the question was more sarcastic. It's obvious, but the main question is, how do you see Germany's business model even surviving in current global conditions? Thinking about cheap energy is gone, outstanding products is gone because too expensive, too much competition from China, from everywhere in the world, and products. Look at the cars they are manufacturing now in China. They have insanely an intense amount of technology inside, and maybe cost half or only 70% of the car manufacturers here producing a car. So I'm really questioning, how can Germany, just from a business model perspective, with all its past strength, even survive when
Okay,
everything beyond.
as a nation, survive, not become the leader. That's the question. To
Exactly,
survive.
exactly. Survive and
Okay.
evolve in a world that is moving rapidly, insanely, everything digital, everything connected, not only physical products. We have more innovation that are not based or related to physical products. Everything is becoming more digitized. How can we even play a role? And with Germany, obviously, also Europe.
There is time to still survive. Let's say France has more clean energy they're using than Germany.
Yeah, true.
That's just on the side. Now, how we can do that? We can establish that we are not going to become the leaders, at least not in the next 10 years or
That's
20 years.
that's out
Can
of
we
the
establish
question
that?
for sure. Yeah, for
That's
me.
not. That's just not possible. We're too
Yeah.
late for that. Look at the electric car. That's over 100 years old. The new electric car. In the 90s, Daimler, the new car, the hydrogen fuel cell, all those things. Germany was actually leading the electric car before. They also had 10% shares from Mercedes. They had 10%
Yeah.
shares in Tesla, as far as I recall.
Yeah, I recall this.
And
I recall that.
I have a good friend who knows the owner of that brand personally. But regardless of all that, that used to be a German thing. There's so many German things Germans gave up on because of maybe it's big oil, maybe it's just
Yes.
being we are better than everybody, we can just do it. Is sunk cost fallacy. We have to get rid of this mentality that we can
Yes.
keep reinvesting in that car. Uh, 10 times more money than we buy a new car. I'm not for new car. I'm just using the car as an example. You are just putting money down. We have to invest carefully. Now, second thing, we need to digitalize not just the infrastructure, the whole system, but the people as well. We have to get rid of this old mindset if we are to survive or even be remotely competitive remotely. Do you think China has the things they have just because? No, we went to China, just like we all went to China. All nations went to China. Guess what? That's the production plant of the world. That's just how it is. It's not going to change. And when you do these things, let's say back in the 90s, Japanese cars, this is how I know it, and I could be wrong, please look it up. 40% of the parts for a car that is coming from Germany or other nations in Japan, they had to have 40% of parts made in Japan. In New Zealand, whenever you buy a New Zealand new BMW in Down Under, you don't see manuals. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why. The transmission comes from, let's say on a BMW, it comes from JATCO, Japanese Automatic Transmission Company. JATCO, Japanese Automatic Transmission Company. They were not so great as the ZF or Getrag, those transmissions. They had a higher chance of failing. They could hold more torque, blah, blah, blah. The quality wasn't there, but they learn. You learn from that.
Yeah.
Where Japan used to be back in the 70s and 80s, China has caught up. I couldn't have said that 10 years ago. We went in there with our technologies. We got cheap labor. We didn't want to pay our own people. Governments wanted to save the companies and their nation, sent them all over there. Let's say that's what happened to the US. Instead of paying $20, they pay $2 to the Mexicans. Let's shift all our business to Mexico.
So
It
you
happened
are.
there. It's happening here. You have BASF. I believe they might be moving as well in the future. Who knows? They've already hinted something, I believe, and that's my take on it. Companies are companies. They will move. They will move where they can make a profit. And
So
for us to survive, we have to. I would say now it's not a favorite topic of a lot of people. We need energy,
yeah.
and although I understand the risks involved in traditional nuclear power plants, oftentimes overblown,
They are
and
the
we don't have
safest. It's clean,
sea
safe
next to us in
energy.
Germany.
It's clean,
Nuclear
safe
energy.
energy.
However, we can go with, let's say, molten salt reactors.
Exactly.
It takes out the whole sting. Please look up molten salt reactors. Your viewers should look up molten salt nuclear reactors. It takes out the whole danger of
Yeah.
having a nuclear. You're just not going to have that, and
But
the half-life is also shortened to such a great degree. You're also able to use current waste of nuclear power plants. I think they built one now in China. They are probably building one in USA. They are working on one in the Netherlands, to my knowledge. Look
yeah.
up the molten salt reactor.
I mean, and from my point of view, it's also a risk management mitigation question. You can build also smaller and more frequent, more newer technology nuclear power plants like all the big tech players are doing now, very decentralized, small, to provide enough energy for data centers and so on. For me, it's out of the question, and even evidently shown empirically, the wealth of a nation correlates 1-to-1 with the energy usage. And we are going down in energy usage. That's the wrong part. So we need more energy, cheap energy, to increase productivity to a level that is not only increasingly, but also benefiting the industry and households and everything. And
We are also going to require a ton of children being born, babies,
of
who
course.
will grow up
That's
to become adults, and
yeah.
they will work.
Exactly.
Going back, before we touch the energy sector, kindly, how to make Germany improve or sustain more, we have to have the incentive of xenophile instead of being xenophobe. And when I mention that, I'm not saying just bring in all the people from the third world and expect them to fill in the criteria. Be selective of who you bring in. That's important, but that's the immigration matter. You have to be more open to investing. You have to be more open to Western culture in a way, because that's where you will get the investors from. You will have to make speaking the English language will not make you less of a man or less of a German or less of anything. Spanish is also a big language, so is Mandarin. It's just the way it is. I didn't do it, you didn't do it. That's just the way it is. We have to accept that reality, amp up our education, get rid of all of this bicker backer. Is the government going to do it? I don't know. But this is something that will happen eventually when the lights go out.
Yeah.
War comes to Europe eventually, as it always has. And that will also give you those young generation of people who will become stronger, be leaders. It will weed out the weak ones. That's just how it is.
It's a mix of various factors, agree. But basically, to sum it up, in terms of losing in the AI race, in the technology relevance, you would say outdated thinking, relying old business model that don't work anymore in the environment we live in, cheap energy, quality products, competitive advantage, and the mentality, the mindset of people thinking in old patterns, and this wait and see strategy simply doesn't work out in a world where everything moves increasingly faster.
This worked wonderfully for 20 years.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean it will. Just because you've drunken home 20 times doesn't mean the next time you will manage as well. It just doesn't work. The world has caught up to those standards and they have surpassed. And now we're trying to catch up. That's all we're doing. And we're being angry and grumpy.
The final part, it's all about you.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's all about me now.
At what point now in the last years have you come to realize that you don't see your future anymore in Germany? What was it like? In my case, a blow off, an accumulation over too many things over too much time, and at some point I just knew it. Now during this summer, I had to leave. I don't see a future here anymore, some system. So how did you come up? Was it the same, like an implosive explosion like with myself, or how would you describe your pattern?
Now, we've talked about it being a culture shock coming from a Western country to Central Europe. Of course it is. Having friends who have come here, and let's say I had this fellow here who's Australian. He's a white Australian of Irish descent and Swedish descent. He got spat on, this and that. Everyday encounters, and because people get angry, people do stuff. I get that. It wasn't those things that triggered me. And it wasn't also just the lack of a dating culture either. And I must say, although,
That's a good point.
that's just who I'm going to put out there. It wasn't that. For a lot of people, it is that. Now, I have the luxury, have enough money to live, so I can light my candle somewhere else, if that's the thing. I can just go some other by nation and just enjoy the sun there when it's dark. You're enjoying the sun now in Spain, if I understand.
Yeah,
I just came back from there a little while ago. Great place, but it's Europe. It's Europe. When I first entered Germany, I liked it. I liked the snow. I liked how things were, but I was in a bubble. As I got to experience it more, I realized how backwards society and the government that has kept it backwards is. I realize there's a language barrier, fine and dandy. You can learn that. You can do all of those things, but you'll never really be integrated because the people themselves are not at peace with each other. Again, coming back to the current structure of it. I came, this was after maybe COVID, maybe around 2022, 23. I thought, okay, I still want to stay in Europe I had realized that Europe is going down. I had realized that. And it's not just a German problem.
Yeah.
It is a European Union problem. It is a European problem. It even extends to the UK right now. That's a whole different kind of worms. I realized that around maybe 2023, and the final straw was when I had decided, hey, okay, I would like to go purchase a property here. You cannot purchase a property in Germany unless you're a permanent citizen. So I was a permanent citizen, and okay, I'm allowed to now purchase a property. So I found this wonderful place in Göttingen. Had a spa, had a swimming pool, all those things. For German standards, and houses are smaller here because it's a smaller country. Of course, you have a lot of people. You don't have that much land. That's fine. That's all right. So there's a property going for just north of a million, something like this. Put down some good, decent enough capital. Not good enough. You don't work for a big company. Your company is a GmbH only. Oh, so is all the big companies. They're GmbH as well. I don't have $1 trillion coming in, but I have far more than most people would.
No.
Even after they bloody retire. That's not enough. I'm showing you earnings. That's not enough. Okay, you need a German person too.
Sure.
Okay, I'll get you a German person. Oh, even then, we had to go past this nonsense for bloody 6 months. And still no go. And that'll never change. You've probably tried to buy a house. You'll probably come across the same problem. Have you tried buying a house? Have you tried buying a property while you're working for yourself?
Yeah.
Have you tried that?
Yeah, it's the same story as what you mentioned. It doesn't matter if you make more money, but as soon as you're not employed but self-employed, or it's sort of in a company structure.
It is set up in a way for the banks. The banks are run.
Exactly.
It's set up in a way.
Doesn't make any sense, and as you pointed this out, it was also my experience, complete interest rate and condition discrimination by the banks. Yep. Even though I had way less risk due to income and everything.
Yeah, but that's not a good thing for the economy. So that was one of the straws. Then I'm done. I figured, okay, so I'm not really allowed to buy something here. Life-wise, I have higher living standards and quality over there in New Zealand, and all such things. We have problems in New Zealand. Don't get me wrong. It's not milk and honey. We have our problems. We have native things, but Jesus Christ, the problems you have in Europe, that's absolutely a cakewalk. I mean, I left to grow my business. I left to see Europe, to meet more people. And I have a thing for, I guess, German girls, I suppose. I don't know. I came for all kinds of reasons. And I cannot deny that I have taken into advantage the system. I have molded the best I can. But I have reached an extent where I cannot even expand. Let's say the automotive industry. My company is one of the 6 companies in the world that produces superchargers and supercharger kits. 6. And I started from nothing. I started with what you'd have is 15 euros. That's 7 New Zealand dollars. That's what I started with. Look at me now. If I can do it, what's somebody else's excuse? Of course, I would not be here. There's no such thing as a self-made man without people who are behind him, that believe in him, that support him. I would not be here without all the people, including good German people, who have helped me reach where I am. I would not be where I am and exponentially growing my business without having been in Germany. So I will say, yes, I have taken, but I had to push far more than most people would, far more. But the greater is the greater reward. Okay, there is that there, but does it mean everybody will be able to do that? If that was that good, would I be going back? No. So there is no future here. If you look at 10 years from now, the way it's heading, I don't have children. You have children. I would not want to have children in this country. I would not want them to grow up here.
Is it fair for me to say that in the accumulation of things you feel treated unfair?
Unfair to a great degree, yes, and it's just set up in a way, and you cannot change it. There was a philosopher who came around Germany, I think, during COVID times. I think he was escaping from the Chinese. He said he now, I think, moved to Portugal or somewhere. He said the German society is a closed society.
Yeah.
And I don't blame the German people. People are a product of their government who's ruling them, and they also deserve the government they put in. Me living from New Zealand, also healthcare. I'm getting older. So are you. Everybody watching, we're all getting older. We may have some youthful looks, whatnot. We are getting older. We will need healthcare when we reach 70, 80, whatnot. By the way things are going, you think that's going to happen when you're 80 years old? If things go the way they are? No, you're not going to receive anything.
Well, you get
Counting all of
papers
this,
that are
my
worthless.
business itself, on the term of business, let's say my products are sold. My biggest market is Europe. Second biggest market is in America. America used to be my biggest market. Okay. So for us now, our smallest market is Germany. Again, because of German laws, homologation laws, the TÜV and all such things, they are set up in a way so they're killing the heart. The companies, medium-sized companies, not the billion, trillion-dollar companies, hundreds of thousands, millions, those companies, or even under 100. Those are the backbone. They're killing the whole automotive industry.
What you are saying, you could be way more bigger, successful, I mean also flourishing for Germany, your company with taxes, with employees in Germany, if it wasn't so damn twisted for you to kinda, or the way I understand it, to keep you artificially down or to not make you too big, too strong. This is almost how it seems when you say
absolutely. Yeah, it's by design. It's by design.
Exactly.
It is by design. And the other thing is just by moving to New Zealand for the same price, you can get 5 acres. 5 acres you can get in the South Island, in a bustling one of the big cities, in a satellite city. We don't have that many taxes. Healthcare is taken. We have much better weather, language, all things in my favor. And business-wise, we value businesses because that's what grows an economy. We don't value them here. Most places in Europe are becoming like that, I guess. But Germany really takes a cake.
That was my impression also when I visited New Zealand, that really thrive and want to attract business people to come flourish in their country and support them easily. It was at least my impression. However, if you were to stay here, what would it cost you? I mean, I'm not talking only.
I'm saving.
Wait. I'm not talking only financially or from business opportunities, but quality of life, or are you maybe even fearing of your life? What you see the war scenario in Europe?
Yes, absolutely. Very good point, Christoph. Very good point. One thing is, when you get caught up in a civil war or unrest or situation, now I'm not exactly a white fella, I'm a fellow of mixed race. Now, when you have certain folks ramped up about another kind of folks who are causing some trouble or they believe whatever, I'll be the guy caught in the middle. Yeah. Of course there will be problems, because when there's, maybe I'm one of those people. That's what some people may think. Although I'm a tax-paying citizen who brings in tons of bloody finances to this country, I'll still be treated that way. That's just the way it's been now designed. So that's safety is one issue. The police, I can tell you in another conversation, I really like the German police, all while they're understaffed. And they're literally throwing away cases. I have cases that I have to take with private lawyers and things like that. And there's a time where I was in Kiel, north of Germany, which is getting quite infested. Trying to protect this woman in the train, and that's a regular occurrence. People getting stabbed and children getting killed. So I was trying to protect this woman, and guess what? The aggressor gets a free pass because, well,
this is one of the points we totally are not discussed today, the public attacks, the knife attacks, the stabbings, which are increasing.
We don't discuss that, but safety is a concern. It is a concern.
Safety is a big concern. And this is also
why
an
is the Christmas market full of police, and why is it full of all these vans blocking the way? It wasn't like that when I came to Germany originally. It wasn't like that.
I mean, the issue
is... the other matter is finances. Sorry.
No, the issue on that security stuff is, unfortunately, also it has been normalized and accepted that the stabbings keep going on. They don't even bring it in the news, in the newspapers, nothing, but you want, and it has
people
been
getting raped,
normalized. It's like, it's just another day. And this is who you are growing up with in your environment. And this is also why, for me, from a safety perspective, I just had to leave, you know?
Safety is a concern. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. Things are also getting dirtier. I was in Berlin last year to have a crazy New Year's Eve. Goodness grace, they only show you the good photos where the politicians go. But if you look at Berlin, and we're not even talking about Potsdam or some nicer places, regular the way people, it's so dirty. Things are getting dirtier. Things are not the Germany it used to be. And safety is a concern. The other concern is your stability of the nation. It's lacking in technology. The standards of living, German houses, you can claim all you like, brick and mortar, which is fantastic. How about insulation? Why doesn't the government have a program like they had in New Zealand to have houses insulated? They have a solar panel program, fine and dandy, cool, good to know. What about warmth? Energy. That's where energy, that's also about energy. You don't have to burn coal. Insulate the houses. They're not modern houses. All of these standards, they add up, and eventually you realize, hey,
instead
I can
of
do
doing
somewhere else.
that, they put you 100 new frameworks, regulation, laws on how you need to sanitize, what to rebuild, how to rebuild your energy efficient standards in your house. All again, this is what I mean, the lobby behind, the corporations
Make
behind.
it the problem of the consumer. Why do you give us plastic if you don't want us to buy plastic?
Exactly,
But it's
yeah.
our fault. You sell us plastic, goods in plastic, and then it's our problem. You know how much energy Germany could save in 40 years? The amount of energy China expands in half a year. The world is not a bubble. You can go all green and sabotage your own doing, your country, at the expense of appearing moral and all that stuff. In the end, it will be you who's paying, not somebody else. And these all made me realize, hey, what am I bothering here for? So I don't have to be here to run my business. And I have decided that what we will do is we're gonna liquidate the business and set up a shell company in Australia and New Zealand, or bloody hell, the Cayman Islands if I need to.
Just hurts to hear that. I mean, a lot of CEOs and also other business owners I talk to, that they are saying the same, because all of these aspects you're going to liquidate your business in Germany. It's just nuts to hear that.
Today, Christoph, I started liquidation process today. Before the call, I was with my lawyer.
Insane.
Today,
insane. Really.
Today, I started today.
To think about that now,
to get that.
The unemployment, the business activity, suppliers, the whole supply chain that is left behind, the growth, the economic growth, and the decay that's following now when you're leaving. I'm speechless, really.
It is makes no sense. So now in New Zealand, let's say moving company there, it will be Germans who will be working for a New Zealand company. It will not be a German company anymore. The money will not be really coming here. It's going somewhere else, and
Explain
that's
that to a politician.
Really. Yeah, hausgemacht.
Hausgemacht.
And guess what? You cannot solve this problem. I cannot solve this problem. You're just a human being born in a certain part of the world. I'm just a human being born in a certain part of the world.
Yeah.
And we just have to do the best. And for me, and as you have said in one of your videos, it makes the best choice for yourself, your safety of your family, for your future. You can only go so far as a patriot. And
I have to make that. Maybe if I didn't have kids, I wouldn't make this, but just by having kids, I need to give them the perspective. Otherwise, I would feel regret and like, it's just something I couldn't agree with my conscience staying there in a devastating, downfalling country that is so obvious to see, where my kids have no perspective, no future in any sort of sense. This would be irresponsible from my point of view.
I mean, it is. It hasn't gotten to that level yet that is blowing up. But in the future, if it keeps going this way, we're already in a path. The trajectory, we're already going to collide. We're already in a path. We're going to feel the repercussions of our decisions in the last 20 years. We'll feel it in the next coming decade and two. Germany is a rich country still, so people are not panicking. However, slowly, it'll become a museum.
How is your outlook on Europe and risk wars? Do you also fear war?
Yes, war will be coming. War will be coming. It's nothing crazy. Europe has always been a hotbed for war, not just counting the two world wars. Last time Germany won a war was 1873. And I do hope the German people, the good German people, the German state, who can believe in freedom, who can believe in reason, and can do with things that don't work, I wish them the very best to what will come. And I do feel war will be coming. And I hope I am wrong. For everybody listening to this, I hope I am wrong. Christoph,
Yeah,
I
I
hope I
hope
am
so
wrong.
too, but my philosophy is hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And this is where I need to
Yes.
move, ahead. And yeah, it's doesn't look rosy. To wrap this up, do you think you will feel relief once you returned? I mean, like that
I
there's
already am. I am
you
already
already
removed
am
from the
feeling this sort
situation.
of weight off your shoulders and this,
Yeah,
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 really?
yeah. I already have felt this way since I'd say beginning of the year. I would have lived in this country and left my business here. Really left it here. Now all we'll have is warehouses, just like many other multinational companies, much much bigger than I can ever dream of becoming. They do, and that's just what it will be. We will
Yeah,
be when you're left without industry. That's the last thing left.
yeah,
When industry
just,
leaves, what are you left with? You're left with entertainment,
yeah.
service, hospitality, and maybe some
Yeah, foreign
technology.
entertainment. You mean Netflix and Disney streaming and so on. Yeah, but that's a
All
different
I can
part.
say, all I can say is for those who are able to do better, please do. Those who think you cannot, try to, at least for yourself and those around you. Uh, Break some rules, try some things out, see how it goes. Just remember of accountability, and in the end, if you can enjoy the downfall, enjoy
Yeah.
the downfall.
Yeah.
It's gonna affect all of us.
Okay, guys. Imagine it's 10 years from now, and Germany keeps going on this current path. Where and how does this country look like? And if Germany doesn't change, who wins and who loses? We will leave this as an open question going, but I think it has become pretty clear. Hyde, two final questions to you before we wrap it up. If, and I think it's already clear, but if Germany was a company or were a company, would you invest in it today?
No, 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 no,
I
no, no,
think
no,
that
no,
has become
no,
very clear. And if
no.
Germany decided to change course today, in whatever reason, we touched so many points from politics to economy, agility, mobility, mindset of people. Is it still savable? Do we still have the chance to turn things around?
We do, we do, we do have a chance to turn things around, but it's only a chance. Only if the politicians and the people take that chance.
Yeah. So, as you say, uh, it depends on the people, and it's a theoretical chance, but probably not going to happen in practice.
I hope it does,
Yeah.
just for the sake of the people
Yeah.
here. They don't
Yeah. Let's.
deserve bad things, really. Although I may not be the greatest fan of the country and how me as a businessman or me being an Auslander, like many others, may have had to go through because of whatever XYZ. I don't want to wish them bad. I hope it recovers. I hope it is able to. I hope so.
Yeah. Perfect ending line. Let's hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Hyde. It was a pleasure having you here on the show. My first podcast. Awesome guest. Thanks so much for this intense discussions. Think people are curious to know and find out more about you. Where can people find more about you if they want to and connect with you?
You could just Google my name or just go Google Superchargers or Hyde. You can find me on
Yeah.
HydeMotorworks.com. Sure, that's one of the brands I do own. But it's not about, I'm not here to sell anything. I'm just here to voice my opinion.
Yeah. Thanks, was a pleasure. As usual, guys, everything we discuss were personal opinions, no accusations, attacks, just honest, real talk. Thanks, Hyde, again, 100 times for this honest, brutal talk.